Hey, travel biz owner. Welcome to the summer selling series on the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur podcast. Let's gear up for a summer of sales and learn from top industry experts how to demystify some of your favorite or most intriguing destinations or products. Let's dive in. Welcome back, everybody. It is our final installment of this year's summer selling series. And I don't know about you, but I feel like we've gone all across different parts of the world. Today, we are going to be talking about a product. So kind of ending similarly like last year, we were talking about river cruises at the end of last year's series. This year's series, we're going to end talking about ocean cruises. But I promise you, we're going to go deep into just the ocean cruise product and how you can effectively sell cruising more. And we have none other than the cruise expert here, Korrine. You might know her as Travel Biz Boss, but I'll let her take it away. So welcome, Korrine. This is, I think, your first time on the podcast. We've done a couple other things before.
It is. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and also sneak peek to you travel advisors. You'll want to stick around for the end because we have a very special big announcement as to something that's coming up that you'll definitely want to be sticking tuned for. So, Korrine, without further ado, I know that we've known each other. Well, we officially met almost a year ago, but we've known each other
hmm
in the industry for a couple years now. So, how did you fall into travel? And then how did you fall into cruising as being your specialty?
Oh, funny story on there. But I will start with I was actually in the optical industry. I was an optician
Ah,
and I was used to really high-end boutique optical shop. But then I decided to move back to Orlando and I was recruited by like the car lot of eyeglass places. And it just sucked the soul out of me. I learned a lot, especially about negotiation, but I had just had it. So, this is not quite back in the 1900s, but barely out of it. I went on Craigslist because I was just searching for something. And I saw a posting and I responded to it and actually took them like a month to get back to me. But it was a cruise focused agency.
okay.
And I ended up working there for about 4 years. It was not the best situation. It was like a call center, high volume, competing. We were on cruise compete, which is like the words no advisor wants to hear. Again, I learned a lot. I don't regret it. However, I ended up deciding alongside another advisor who was with that company, we went out on our own and created Journeys Travel Company in 2011.
Okay.
What is funny that I mentioned earlier is that we fought like HE double hockey sticks to make sure that everyone knew that we did not just book cruises. We chose our name to make sure it didn't have the cruise in it.
Yeah.
All of our messaging, our marketing, just fought that whole I thought you only book cruises attitude.
Uh-huh.
Meanwhile, through the course of about, I would say, 12 more years, I did a big circle. I convinced myself that I had to do everything or I wasn't a real travel advisor. Not only that, but I had to do these custom tailored itineraries that are a million different pieces and a million pieces of stress. And, I went the whole loop only to come back to what am I doing?
Mm.
Let me just sell cruises. It's what I enjoy. It's highly profitable. I can sell them in my sleep. I
Uh-huh.
could book a cruise with my eyes closed in about 4 minutes. Why am I putting myself through all this stress? The surprise for me, because sometimes when you're in a situation, you don't see it clearly. So once I was done with everything but cruises, I was suddenly like, oh my gosh, I hated selling all inclusive resorts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not that there's anything wrong with them. I think it's a wonderful vacation option. It's that there are so many and the reviews are always hit and miss. And I
hmm
never ever felt entirely confident because I don't work with a lot of luxury clients. I have a few, but most of them are like that solid, moderate, middle ground.
Okay.
And so choosing a resort in that price range is just felt like a crapshoot every single time. And I was always nervous. So again, nothing against that type of vacation. I've been to a million amazing resorts. It was selling them and having the confidence. Thank goodness for Lori Gold's Experts program and her
Right.
Facebook page, because
Right.
anyone who's selling Mexico resorts actually has access to incredible information that really wasn't as available when I was selling them.
Right.
So anyway, the point is, going off full circle only to come back to, this is the easiest low hanging fruit. I could make so much more money if I
Right.
just cut out everything else and focus on this.
So was this transition more strategic in terms of obviously being able to scale, or would you say you just love the cruise product more, or was it like a combo?
It was kind of like, okay, some things had to change. And of course,
Yeah.
for me, starting Travel Biz Boss came into play there too, because now I've added these other responsibilities to my list. At the time, I was an agency owner. I am just now retiring from agency ownership because now that had to go as well.
Uh-huh.
But at the time, I was like, okay, I can't keep going at this pace. I cannot do everything. Let's look at the numbers. Hands down, no question, in 2 seconds, it was very clear what the most profitable segment of my business was.
Okay.
I'm not saying each and every cruise commission was the highest. What I'm saying is the time that I had to invest for each cruise booking was so small that even a $300 or a $500 commission was based on 15 minutes of work.
Right.
So I had to look at it from that numbers point of view, and there was just no question what was the most profitable. And it was such an easy yes for me because it's so easy for me. And it has been for a long time. Once you get the hang of cruises, it's a very, very easy to transfer knowledge across cruise lines in a lot of cases. Of course, there are some smaller details, but it made it super easy. And I kick myself now, and I would love to save other people from this mistake, because I really could have positioned myself as the go-to cruise expert
Yeah.
amongst my network. But instead, I spent all my time fighting it, saying, I don't just book cruise, I book everything. And that
Yeah.
was very stressful.
Yeah.
Oh, you want Bali? Never booked it. Now I got to go start from scratch researching that,
Right.
pretend, fake it till you make it. It was awful.
Yeah.
It was burnout all the time. It was working on weekends and staying up late and all these things, because I
Mm.
was constantly having to start from scratch with places I didn't know,
Yeah.
just to learn it. And you can't know something. You don't know what you don't know. You have to do what's needed. But selling the whole world, that's a heavy burden.
Yes. Well, I'm so glad that you mentioned that too, because I remember there's another travel advisor who was like, I can book a cruise in 15 minutes, but if you tell me to do FIT, that's going to take me hours. And that's where I was like, well, why are people focusing on things like, and I think especially with this series, because we've talked about Switzerland, we've talked about Japan, and we've talked about Spain and Portugal. I'm like, oh my gosh, any travel advisor should be able to be like, I'm going to sell this one. I'm not selling this one. I'm going to sell this one. And like I feel like everything gets so much easier once you focus down. So at those like beginning stages when you were like cruises, that's it. How like did you hear the angels singing? Like what was life
Yeah.
like?
The freedom, it is so crazy, because this is the lie that we tell ourselves always, that we will never make it. We'll never make it if we're not a generalist. If
Right,
we narrow down our focus, we're going to narrow down our profit, which is
right,
absolutely the opposite of the truth. But we tell ourselves, and this is why I tell people all the time, you know how when you try to talk to a teenager and you try to convince them that high school is not going to determine the trajectory of their whole life, and that it's not even going to matter in a few years, and they're not going to hear that from you.
yeah,
This is how advisors feel when you tell them that specializing or niching is the way to go. They're not going to hear it, even though people who have experienced it can really share amazing transformations. It's just no. Are
right.
you independently wealthy? Do you just have money in the bank? They don't realize how much they're actually limiting their income.
Hmm.
So for me, just about those like angel singing moments, that kind of clarity when an inquiry comes in that isn't a cruise, nope. When a webinar offer comes through that's not for a cruise, nope. Like, so easy to make those quick decisions because you have this laser focus and you know what you need. you don't have to spread yourself so thin. Oh, it just really buys back a lot of time in your life, a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
decision fatigue. It's really, truly so liberating. But I was there once. I absolutely rejected any notion of specializing. I believed the lie that if you don't sell everything, you're never going to make enough money.
Yeah.
But it is a huge lie.
Yeah. I love on the marketing aspect. I'm like, it just gets so much easier figuring out who you're supposed
Yes.
to talk to, who you're supposed to find when you're able to say cruises or river cruises or cruises for executives or like whatever the
Yeah.
niche is.
Think about this. And listen, I like a nice Cheesecake Factory meal. Nothing against the Cheesecake Factory. But when I go there and I read that novel of a menu,
Right.
I know in my head as a foodie, I'm like, but what do you do well? There's nothing special here. You don't specialize in something. This is basic territory, right?
Yeah.
Nothing special here.
Yeah.
Same thing. When you are in your social media and you are just talking about Switzerland and Bali and cruises and all inclusives and every single thing under the sun, you're not building trust. People are
Right.
going to innately feel suspicious. There's no way you could be that much of an expert in all those things. That's why you
Right.
get people saying, well, have you been there? Whereas if you choose a lane and you focus your messaging, your marketing, also your free time, your vacations, your fams, so you really truly do become the expert, that's when people fully are like, yep, this person knows what they're doing,
Exactly.
because she's just like when you go to that Italian restaurant or that Mexican restaurant that
Yeah.
that's the best Italian or the best Mexican in town. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to a Cheesecake Factory to get top notch enchiladas. You know what I mean?
Right. I know they're a little bit all over the place too with what their menu is.
But their cheesecake is amazing.
Oh, that is yes. Ah, salivating again.
Yes.
What would you say to those people? Because I know we just used the word special and how not niching doesn't differentiate you. So I know there's going to be some cruise naysayers being like, well, cruising's not special. It's already packaged up for you. All you got to do is like boop, 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 details done.
We are in sales
Uh-huh.
and we are selling a high ticket item. And anytime you're doing that, mortgage broker, realtor, whatever, you're selling yourself.
Hmm.
You're not selling the thing, you are selling yourself and what you can bring to the experience.
Fire.
So there are tons of ways, and I love talking about all the ways that you can really stand out. As you know, I've been working really hard to change this narrative
Hmm.
that people who sell cruises are simply order takers. That's some BS right there.
Yeah.
First of all, it takes a baseline of, how many cruise lines, itineraries, types of cabins, ships, all those things to be able to
Types
be
of cabins.
an effective matchmaker to make sure that the needs of that client are met. Because yes, they can just book a cruise, but maybe they didn't realize they get seasick and they didn't realize the best place. There's so many tiny little things that you can help make sure that they get the most out of that experience if you know
Hmm.
what you're doing. Not only that, but there's also pre-post. So if you do have that passion to do some custom tailored things, that can totally be done on the front and or back end of the cruise. It can be done to do custom shore excursions. It's also a great place to collect a fee. It's what you make it.
Right.
But you're not selling the cruise, you're selling yourself, your expertise, your partnerships, your relationships, all of those things. And so it's silly to tell yourself that you have to work so much harder to even just be legit. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. You said all the different types of cabins, and I'm like, hoo-wee. I remember I went on the inaugural last year for the Utopia of the Seas and obviously getting all the content. And I'm like, I walked my patootie around that ship because there are so many different types of cabins. This summer selling series is brought to you by the Cruise Content Library. Finding stock vertical videos for your social media marketing is not easy. And I mean that good, juicy, quality content that paints a picture of the amazing cruise experiences and not just another drone footage of another ship. But I'm changing all that and putting my best content of over 1,000 vertical videos available to you inside the cruise content library. Finally sell with video storytelling on your social media channels. Visit the link in the show description to save your spot, and then being able to articulate the different types of cabins to your clients to figure out that exact thing what you were saying, the matchmaking, because it's not only that, then like how do you articulate that across brands also when they're being inundated with all the cruise commercials on TV or on social media?
Yeah. And there's so many cabin types on the Utopia of the Seas. That is a beast of a ship.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, across cruise lines, you got to match people to the right line. And here's the thing. There are 4 family-focused brands and 2 adults-only brands. Everything else is in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of room. But even in those smaller parts, the 2 adults-only is Viking and Virgin. The Virgin client is not a Viking client. The Viking client is not a Virgin client.
Right.
So you have a lot to bring to the table. And also there's another piece, this other lie that we tell ourselves, that if we aren't burnt out, overworked, stressed out, that we don't deserve
Boom.
to make a good living, which is some more BS.
Yeah.
So you can absolutely choose to create the business that you want, sustainable, profitable, joyful, and it can be whatever you want it to be. If it's not cruising, pick something else. Yeah. I'm just here to say that cruising is not less than, it is not unprofitable. Is that a word?
Yeah.
It can be very profitable, and more so than most other trip types if you're doing it right. So don't tell yourself the story that I really love cruises and I love to sell them, but I'm just never going to be able to make a living, because that, again, is another lie.
Right.
If that's what you like, you enjoy selling them, and you know the ease that I'm talking about, or you want to find that ease, it's an easy target.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you specialize, I know, in cruises, but would you say you specialize in something else, like even more narrow, or would you say you're just a general cruise specialist?
I am a general cruise specialist.
Okay.
I thought I was going to try to really focus on med cruises or European cruises.
Ooh, okay.
Because I thought I wanted to do more of the custom pre-post, and I have what I call a custom cruise experience service.
Uh-huh.
And it's all outlined what it is, basically kind of like a mini FIT.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do those things, I learned. I just want to book the cruise and go on with my life.
Uh-huh.
So I have even gone as far to create, which I have in my membership Cruise Business Blueprint, I have pre and post DIY guides for my clients. Now, they have backfired on me because they're so good and juicy that at the end, when I offer them the custom cruise experience, if they want to pay the fee, they're like, take my money. So So I ended up deciding I didn't want to push real hard on the European cruises, because that was going to stick me with doing a lot more pre-post. I think that's actually a very attractive thing for a lot of advisors who do like doing that custom tailored stuff.
Okay.
I just don't have time anymore, I think, is the bottom line. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. It was a time thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But you can have it. It can be as middle of the road family. We're getting families on vacation. We're making memories, all the way up to super luxe, super tailored, super, high touch. And you can do anything you want in this arena.
Uh-huh.
There's cruise lines for it, and there's an audience for it. And you could niche down even further. And someone in my membership just asked the other day, is it crazy to just want to sell one cruise line? And the answer is no.
No, yeah.
Become the go-to, become the expert. That's how you're going to find your people, is by having a very clear message.
Yeah.
I'm sure you say that all the time. So if that's going to work for you, it depends. If you say, everyone I know is a family on a pretty tight budget, I'm gonna specialize in Cunard.
Uh-huh.
That's going to be a tricky jump. Not that it can't be done, but now you've got to go build a whole new network, right? If you meet your network where they're at, that's going to be pretty helpful. But it's up to you. Whatever you want to do. I joke around and I'm like, you could say I only book cruises that leave on the second Tuesday if it's a full moon. and you could build that business. You can
Yeah.
do it if you put the effort in. But just niching down into cruising or just river and luxury or just family, super easy.
Yeah, because that it makes me think too, next year with the eclipse, that was big, I think a year or
Yeah.
two ago when we had this eclipse. And so people were like, book me, and like that was a big cruise product coming up for 2026. Um, so that I just get excited about those kinds of opportunities because yes, you can be, and you can't, there's so much knowledge because again, I think of who you were saying, Lori Gold, and she specializes in teaching about the Mexican Riviera. And I'm like, you could pick any cruise line and say, like, that is your special cruise line and just book that because there's so much stuff that comes out, especially if it's a larger line, new ships, updates to policies. There's just so
Yep.
much that encompasses like one cruise line.
And yet will absolutely build authority like you've never seen because your messaging is so focused. And
Right.
people who are listening, I want you to know that me and Rita are both talking. We're so animated. I just took my earrings out because I was jangling those around. We're like balling our fists because it's so frustrating that we can't get people to see it.
Yeah.
Like
Um,
we've seen the proof, but we can't get people to release themselves from this prison because they're so afraid.
yeah.
And man, if we could force you, we would.
Being a generalist and wanting to get a little tactile, and of course being the summer selling series, what would you say, or how many cruises would you say, if we want to get specific, maybe like how many 7 night cruises do you think an average travel advisor would need to sell a month? I know I'm getting like really honing in. If they wanted to make this their full-time income and full-time being maybe like 60 or 75,000 a year.
So actually, I do talk about this math a lot. If we average it out, say you're doing mostly mass market with a little bit of premium luxury thrown in, which is from my experience usually the case.
Hmm.
I want to say, let's say you're averaging $2,000 a person. So you're going to sell some that are less, you're going to sell some that are way more. At 2,000 a person, if you're with the right host and consortia, because that makes a huge difference in your commission percentage.
Uh-huh.
But you could sell one cruise a week and make 30 plus thousand, right? That's one cruise a week.
Right.
So that means if you pump out 3 per week, you are now flirting with 6 figures.
Boop, boop.
And if you incorporate that custom cruise experience, which you would make fee based, and not that you can't charge a fee for cruises, it is tougher. If you're already have a clientele who's used to paying a fee for your custom FITs, it's super easy to just be like, it doesn't matter the type of trip, we still have a fee.
Hmm.
But it can be difficult to charge fees for just cruises, just because there's so many options for people to buy what they think is the same product. Again, selling yourself is the key here.
Right.
But if you don't charge a fee for cruises, which I don't, you can still get some fee-based business by offering a custom cruise experience. So then you're well over the 6 figure mark, hopefully.
Hmm.
Um, but it does matter which host and consortium you're with, because that's going to determine your commission rates. If you do want to focus on cruising, you need to make sure you're with the right partnerships there. So
Yeah.
I'm with TPI, and TPI is with Signature, and between the two of them, I have so much group pricing, exclusive prices and amenities, just so many tools, and also the highest commission. So that 2,000 per person is a 640 commission for me because it's usually 16%. I mean,
Nice.
some are up to 20%, the higher end. Obviously, trying to focus a little bit on river cruises, which you already talked about last year, but those commissions always have a comma in them. So
Right.
it's always a great day when you get an inquiry for a river cruise. But so I would say 1 to 2 cruises per week, and you're solidly in that full time income.
Nice.
But if you're with the right hosted consortia and have access to these great price advantages and exclusive amenities, and you put that out there and you become the authority, very easy for you to hit the 6 figure mark.
Yeah. Would you say too that you focus on like selling certain cabin types? Like, would you say that you entry level is balcony type for you or anything really?
I think everyone's clientele determines that.
Okay.
For me at this point, I'm almost always booking a balcony, but
Okay.
it wasn't always that way when
Right.
I first started. And I started when like 2007, 2008, when we had the housing crash and it was, you could go on a cruise for a nickel. Everyone was like, I'm never in the room, interior's fine, or maybe a
Exactly.
window. And it's like my clientele has grown with me. This is the thing about, again, specializing in cruising. Cruisers going to cruise and they're going to do it over and over. And once they trust you, they're just going to email you with what they want every single time. They learn how to choose their own. They require
Right.
very little hand holding. They're just handing you business constantly, right?
Hmm.
And so I don't even take new clients at this point. My business is 100% repeat. We've been working together for so many years. I've had kids that have grown up and now I'm booking kids,
Nice.
or the clients are maturing a little. So we're moving into the more premium or luxury lines. And I rarely book anything lower than a balcony at this point. I don't book a ton of suites. It's pretty solidly balcony. And I
Okay.
think it's easy to sell a balcony when you just talk about floor to ceiling windows, views all the time, enjoy your morning coffee out on the balcony before you go hit the thousands of people that are there waiting for you, the hustle and bustle.
Um,
You just have to paint the picture.
yeah. I know we keep talking about this, the cruise client experience or the custom experience. And what would you say, like what would you, I know not being able to share all your secrets, but what is something that would not be included? Like, what's a regular experience that somebody would get, not paying a fee, they book the cruise with you versus what's in that custom experience that they would pay a fee for?
Oh, sure. I'm happy to share all of it. The fee is for, okay, when it comes to airfare, every advisor has to make their own decisions. I will only sell air if it is like, let's just say they only want air. So it would have
Uh-huh.
to be the cruise line air, but only certain cruise lines, because some cruise lines have terrible air programs.
Uh-huh.
Or I will use a consolidator like Global First, which has $100 per ticket fee. But I
Mm.
know that client is going to have assistance if anything happens. Otherwise, they're on their own to book air. I
Okay.
can't, and I know not everybody can do that, and I'm not saying that's what you should do. That's where I'm at this point in life,
Uh-huh.
because air has just never been anything but stressful for me.
Yeah.
So I wanted through the cruise line where they get the 24/7 help, or a consolidator with 24/7 hotline.
Uh-huh.
I don't, I used to work with one really popular consolidator, but after the pandemic, they never went back to 24/7 service. So I can't do it, because
Right.
you got people flying to the Med overnight, miss a connection, whatever. Or if they do the custom pre-post, which has a minimum of 3 nights accommodations. So then I'm doing the
Ooh.
package, right? And I say that because I might use like Travel Impressions or Pleasant Holidays or something like that, where we get that bundle price with the air and at least 3 nights accommodations. I
Uh-huh.
want to say United only requires two, but three is my thing. So if we're
Uh-huh.
doing at least 3 nights accommodations, it can be two on the front, one on the back, whatever. So we do the package with the accommodations in the air. We do tours, we do transfers, airport to hotel, hotel to cruise port. I offer to do custom shore excursions. Not a lot of people take me up on that,
Okay.
because most people are just going to book through the airline or through the cruise line. I will book if anyone asks me, can you help me book my excursions? I'm going to do it, but
Uh-huh.
I don't offer it.
Okay.
And so it's something that I mentioned with the custom cruise experience. But even if they didn't buy it, you get some really elderly clients or something and they just need help, I'm going to do it. I just don't put it out there like, hey, let me book your excursions for you, because then way too many people will take me up on that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, like I said, kind of like a mini FIT where I'm doing soup to nuts,
Yeah.
everything for you that you want. I don't offer restaurant reservations, but if someone
Okay.
asks again, I would do it. I think there's a place that you could have a tiered service here for sure. There's so
Yeah.
many different things you could do with it. It's just my way of being willing to do that kind of time consuming work, but it's
Mm-hmm.
got to have a fee. I'm just not doing that for free. I absolutely did custom FIT for many years with no fee. And then I finally was like, man, this is just not worth doing. If
Right.
I don't even know if I'm going to get paid because they might cancel.
Yeah.
So yeah, does that answer it?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Also, talking about repeat clients, because you mentioned that your business is pretty much all repeat clients. How much of that would you also say, and are you promoting like purchasing your future cruise on the ship, on the cruise that they're currently on?
One of the most popular email templates that's in my cruise workflow is the onboard booking prompt. And I have one that's for mass market and one that's for premium and luxury.
Nice.
And that way it's worded a little differently. Of course, there's a lot more fun language in the mass market and a little more sophisticated, but man, that is free money. That is passive income. There is very little in this business that where you can get passive income. It's not that you don't have to do anything, but you don't have to do the hard part, which is
Hmm.
selling and closing the sale. Also, those onboard salespeople are incredible. They will get your client into the highest category they can. They will show
Yeah.
them the deck planes and expect, it is my favorite thing when I get that cruise confirmation. Bing, here's free money for you. Just put it in your system.
Yeah.
Of course, I just add the workflow and let it rip. And a lot of times I never even have to touch it.
Uh-huh.
So if you are not prompting your clients to book on board, you're crazy.
You're leaving money, easy money, because it's a reduced deposit
Easy
normally
money.
too.
Yep. Everybody wants to book their, everyone on a cruise is already be like, oh, next time I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Like you got to catch them in that energy.
Yeah. I know last year for the river cruise, we kind of differentiated between some of the lines. So could we do that for some of the ocean lines? I don't want to say like any of the mass market because I feel like mass market we're probably honed in on, but maybe some of like the premium lines, like I'm thinking, well, premium upper premium, so like Windstar, Oceana, some of those like celebrity Holland America Princess, like what's the different vibe and who would want to be on this ship or this line versus the other line?
That gets a little bit nuanced. And
Yeah.
actually, one of the things that's in my membership is a cruise line library where I outline who it's
Ooh.
for, what they value, who it's not
Ah,
for,
love that.
and then any additional considerations. That way, I find that a lot of my members don't actually sell that many cruises. They want that easy place where they can go in really quickly and not have to learn the whole wheel and
Right.
just get the information they need to match the client. Because again, it's all about matchmaking. But like I said, there's some simplicity to it because you have the four family focused lines: Carnival, Royal, Norwegian, and Disney.
Hmm.
And then we have two adults only, and the rest are adults mostly for the
Yes.
most
Yeah.
part. Now, there's some exceptions. On Holland America and Princess during the Alaska season, you're going to see a lot more families on board than usual. It's just kind of something you need to know, right?
Hmm.
But it really is great to try to, I would ask your BDMs, what does your client value? Another thing that I'm adding to the cruise line library right now is I'm contacting BDMs and saying, tell me one story, one feature, one shore excursion. Tell me one thing about your cruise line that you would want my client to know to differentiate from other cruise lines. And I think that's a great
Ooh.
question to use at trade shows
Yeah.
when you have 2 seconds to talk to somebody to get to the nitty gritty of what their ideal client values. Is it fewer people on board? Is it extremely immersive shore excursions? Is it overnight in the destination? Is it food? We know Oceania, there's like that middle ground between premium and luxury, which is Oceana, Azamara,
Hmm.
Windstar could be one of them. And I know
Yeah.
I'm missing a big one. But, for me, when people are like Oceana or Azamara, Azamara for the itinerary, Oceana for the food, just depends on the priority of the client. And then
Okay.
sometimes you get into things like, let's say, Holland America and Princess in Alaska. It's so close, you're splitting hairs. So
Yeah.
then I always say, then we want to just look at the age of the ship and the itinerary. That's what you want to choose on because the price is probably similar. The itinerary might even be similar, but look at the age of the ship, like because you're just down to the nitty gritty splitting hairs at that point.
Hmm.
So you want to have a few tricks in mind for that. But the most important thing you want to learn, and you can learn it from your BDMs, is what does your ideal client value?
I Love that tip because especially no, I don't feel like anybody trains you on like what you're supposed to go into a trade show. And I'm like, that tip alone is like worthy. I mean, there's been a lot of tips, but that is a worthy tip to take into
Yeah.
your travel business. For anybody that's kind of like, okay, maybe I should like consider this cruise nation into this cruise thing. Like, what would be your best advice for them to start building the business if that's what they really want to focus on?
Well, very real simple things that you need to do for any niche that you want. And I have them listed. You want to talk about this is what I do. Just start talking about it in real life, online, everywhere you are. This is what I do. Just be talking about that thing,
Yeah.
not a million other things. No, oh, I could also do this, or I could also stay really focused on this thing that you do. So just everywhere. And then you have to be willing to say no to what
Ooh,
doesn't fit.
yes.
Because every yes is a no to something else. You're only a
Mm-hmm.
human being, there's only 24 hours in a day. You need to protect your time. You need to have some trust in your path and what you're trying to accomplish. And at first, that will feel scary because we're so used to being like, yep, I can do it. I get every sale, every sale. But that is not a really great long term strategy.
Mm-hmm.
If you can just swallow the scariness for a little while and start saying no to the things that don't fit into your big plan,
Mm-hmm.
more of the stuff that does will come. And especially if you just keep talking about that.
Yeah.
So if you don't have much experience with cruises, then I would say choose one line and
Yeah.
dive into that one first.
Yeah.
And actually, if you're going to do a training, I think Princesses one is the way to go. That's how I always advise new advisors who joined our team. Because number one, it's big, it's comprehensive. There's a lot that you'll learn in there that will transfer to other cruise lines, like about itineraries and things like that. What's Eastern Caribbean versus Western Caribbean, and med cruise, all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Much of it is transferable, but also you get a free cruise. Once you
Yes.
complete it, you get Commodore status and you can get a free cruise.
Yeah.
And especially if you haven't cruised, there's nothing like being on a cruise to help you explain what it's like.
Exactly.
You do need to invest in yourself, get some, go on some fans, try to get some agent rates, get on some cruises, but you can sell them without ever having been on one. And my business partner that I'm just now separating from, who is amazing, she did it for years before she even went on a cruise. Like, you can still do it,
Yes.
but you won't do it as effectively without having been on one, because it's just a different way to vacation. There's things like the cashless system on board and how easy everything is and how there's something
Yeah.
for everyone. Those things, you can know them without knowing them. You
Yeah.
got to know what that feels like.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like across the different lines, it can be a little bit, even at different ports, it's a little bit of a different experience.
Yes,
So, yeah. Yeah. Cause,
absolutely. There's some that I do not like
yeah.
and many that I absolutely love. And I sold the ones that I do not like a million times, being like, yeah, it's great, before I realized not for me.
I am looking at our time and I'm like, I don't even know when we got started, so I don't know how long we're at, but I'm like, I'm pretty close. We're close. I'm pretty sure we're close to time. And I was like, ooh, do you have any like killer sales tip? Like, what's your number one sales tip, I guess, for getting people to bump up their sales? So if it was just supposed to be a balcony sale, maybe switching from balcony to suite, or switching from like a premium to luxury line, or contemporary to premium line.
First, you have to get to the root of what the occasion is. I think knowing what the motivation is for the trip can really help you kind of leverage that into, like, this is so special. Are you sure you wouldn't like to splurge? And here are these. This is where we have to get into the features and benefits, right? Of what a
Yeah.
suite. Imagine skipping the line and not having to wait in that big long line. That really works well with regular cruisers because they're so used
Um,
to being in that cowherding.
oh, yeah.
Imagine having a private restaurant. You just have to paint the picture. And on my inquiry form, I have a cruise specific inquiry form, of course, because I want to qualify the client for the type of trip. When I have what type of cabins, in parentheses, the S, are you interested in? So they can choose multiple. And it's like, I get the best sleep in an inside cabin. Or as long as I can see the sun, I'm fine. A window is great. Or I am looking forward to enjoying my coffee on my balcony. We're not just saying inside
I
ocean view
love
balcony.
that.
We are saying I'm splurging on a suite because I deserve it. We are
Uh-huh.
painting more of a picture than just being like inside balcony. You gotta set the scene a little bit.
Yeah. I love it because it's so much more focusing on people's values and not who they are. Not, I'm 54, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I have dogs, or I have kids, I don't
Yeah.
have kids.
Something I often say to my clients is that I care about you and your experience.
Hmm.
And when you ask clients questions about what it is that they are looking to get out of this trip, not which sites do you want to see, what are you checking off your list, like what's the purpose, what's the occasion? A lot of times people are just trying to reconnect with their family or their loved ones or
Hmm.
just blow off with friends. Get to the bottom of the reason for the trip, and that's going to help you push them to where they need to be and what's going to be the best fit for the trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also want to give one last little gem of advice here.
Ooh, let's do it.
Don't and do not poo poo that 3 night Bahama cruise booking,
Ooh.
because almost every single person's first cruise booking is a 3 night Bahama booking.
Hmm.
They are not ready to commit to a week on a ship. They need to dip their toe in and they need to see what it's about. And you have no idea where that's going to go
Uh-huh.
once they get a taste of cruising.
Yeah.
So telling yourself this is not worth my time is a very transactional attitude. You've got to consider what the future possibilities are for that client. And always remember, almost everybody's first cruise is a 3 night. Now, if they tell you I take 3 night Bahamas cruises once a year, maybe you say,
Different.
okay, there's no future in this and I'm going to pass it on to somebody else. That's fine.
Right.
But when someone hasn't cruised before and they want that 3 nighter, do it.
Yeah.
Because I have so many clients for 18 years that started there and are now on Viking Ocean and Uniworld River. And, you do not want to have that transactional mindset.
I love that one so much. Um, where can people find you if they're not already following you? And I know we've talked a little bit about CBB, so if you want to share a little bit more and where people can get on the list for that.
Sure. If you go to my website, travelbizboss.com, that's where you can find workflows. We do done for you CRM setups with all the workflows for Travel Joy and Turn. And there's also a tab there for Cruise Business Blueprint where you can get on the wait list. The doors are going to be opening in mid September the next time. And you can also find me on Instagram at TravelBizBoss. Same thing for Facebook at TravelBizBoss. And I'm newly getting myself onto LinkedIn, so you can find me there as well, personally as Korrine Johnson or professionally as TravelBizBoss.
Woohoo! And this will not be the last time that you hear Korrine, at least in my world, because spoiler alert, big announcement, Prep for Wave Week is coming in
It's
mid-September.
my favorite. I love gearing up for that time. It's so energizing.
Yes, it is the fifth annual, and it's crazy to say that it's the fifth annual event this year. But if you are really wanting to prepare and be smart about wave season or just preparing for the new year of business, you've got to be at Prep for Wave Week. It's a 5-day event, but I try and make it really succinct so that you're not overwhelmed on each day. So we break up every day into like the different operations in your business. So we have Essentials Day, Operations Day, which I think is where I'm gonna put Kurt. Obviously, you can
Mm,
tell we're still finalizing all the details, but Karine is
yeah.
pro most likely talking about workflows and automations on Operations Day. Then we'll have Marketing Day, we'll have Sales Day, and then we will have Growth Day. So lots to look forward to. Make sure to save your spot. Again, I'm not sure if at the time this officially goes live, if we'll be full like open for registration or open for waitlist. But either way, put yourself on the list, get on the link so that you can save your spot because you don't want to miss it. There's all sorts of bonuses. You can definitely upgrade, but you do not want to miss out because it is really one of the events of the season.
I'm so excited. I hope I
Yeah.
see you there.
Yeah. Well, Korrine, thank you so much for being here and sharing. I feel like this was a chock full episode about all things cruising and selling cruises.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me.
Yay. Thanks, travel advisors. We will see you here next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on the summer selling series. If you've got a travel biz friend that you think would benefit from this series, would you mind sharing this episode with them? All right. Thank you again. I'll see you here next week.